Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Breakthrough Blueprint, where we talk to entrepreneurs about how they became successful today. And with me, I have my amazing friend, Marvel, and I will hand it over to him to introduce himself.
What's going on, everybody? So my name is Marvel J. Bishop, but you can call me Bishop. I am a entrepreneur based in Miami. So people who are great at what they do, but they're not necessarily known yet, we help you go from overlooked to overbooked. So anything with personal branding, finding that authority on content, getting them on podcasts, also PR, speaking stages, and also to be able to actually increase your social capital. So we help people really elevate their brand, not only online, but offline.
Love that. And how did you get started?
Man, so where do I begin? Okay, so originally from New York, came to Miami in 2009, and I actually was a photographer and videographer for FIU. So I did a bunch of shoots for fraternities, sororities, departments, health, nursing, education, etc. And I was doing okay up until a point where I wasn't necessarily making enough money as far as like, going to school and like trying to, balance both. And I wanted to really kind of like be my own man because one of the things I used to tell with my story is that I actually made my aunt that was actually taking care of me at the time, I actually made her cut me off because I wanted to become, my own entity, my own adult. But then when I did that, I was like, okay, well, I need to make more money. I guess that's what everything else too is not really like, helping out a little bit too much. Say they're not, they're helping, but it's okay. So, by then, I would say like my fraternity colleague at the time, Jonathan Medical, I actually hit him up on Facebook. That's how old this is. We're talking like 2009, 2011 actually. And I was like, hey, listen, man, I'm a photographer here in FIU trying to make ends meet. I need another job. So he actually got me to work at Story, which is also the sister club of Live. So I worked for David Grutman. I worked for David Grutman for about 5 to 6 years. I was a security guard. I'm 6'11", 350. You know, a little short. You know what I'm saying? Not too short. You know what I'm saying? So I worked for him for a while. Afterwards, when I was doing that, I was taking care of like celebrities, big time entrepreneurs, movers and shakers. I had to get to a point where I wanted to actually like be at like, my own person. I was like, yeah, this job is good. Like I'm making money, but I want to kind of like, do things on my own terms. I want to be able to like, build my business. So I stopped that and then I opened up my own concierge company slash commercial security company. So I'll still do a photo and video as well too, kind of like juggling, two things. So then I'll say 2016 to like 2020, I'm ripping and running, definitely making some revenue. And then boom, you already know what happens. COVID hits. COVID hits and I literally lose everything. I was on pace to, be my first millionaire in my family, but I lost everything. And after that, then 2020, I was like, all right, you know what? After I gave away the PPP loans to, all my people, I was like, hey, listen, here's the money, fend for yourself. I'm gonna figure it out for my own because I was definitely responsible for them, for the people who were working for me. Like literally figured out. So like for the past like year, I was like, okay, like what can I do within the space of hospitality and also media? And then I'll say about maybe like 2 years after that, around like 2022, 2023, I just want to fast forward a little bit. I was like, you know what? I have the talents of, being in the hospitality, have this white glove service and also catering to people. And I'm very creative as well, too. So I was like, you know what? What if I actually alchemize and basically combine both the services and become a media concierge? So that's where Only the Best Media basically, came about.
Love that. That's so awesome that you have that experience. What was it like working for Dave Grutman?
David is an amazing human being. I know a lot of people would say certain things about him, but I literally owe my life to Dave. He, created those opportunities and those, beautiful venues, Live, Story, Komodo, etc. And I just honestly, took the opportunity to basically, work for him, and I learned a lot. The one thing about Dave that I could say is that he is uh the biggest, like the most meticulous person you could possibly meet when it comes to his business. Like he will go to Live, he'll go to Komodo, he'll go to Gecko, and like he'll just literally walk in. And if he sees something that's actually wrong with like a bulb and like 100 feet in the air, he will actually point it out and tell them, hey, listen, you need to go up there and fix it. And I think that's the reason why he's just so successful because of just just the way he is as far as being meticulous and be very, very strategic and just be very, very exact as far as like, the type of execution that you need to have while working for him. Like he demands nothing but excellence when it comes to that. So just learning from him.
That's amazing. It's awesome to have like mentors like that because he's obviously built this empire. And I keep following like all the things that he's doing in TV now and media outside of the restaurants and the hospitality industry. So it's cool where, and also he's built his personal brand so he can kind of do anything and get
Yes,
sponsorships.
he's coming out with a book now. He's coming out with a book in May. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. And I see that you're also like really building up your personal brand. When I met you at Creator Hub, you're on the floor, like interviewing people, getting content. And that was super inspiring for me because I want to do stuff like that this year. Can you speak more about what you do?
So I believe that everybody has a certain superpower within them that they either are tapping into or maybe not necessarily tapped into yet. I have a couple of superpowers, but I feel like my main superpower is that I have people that gravitate towards me and I actually make them feel safe.
Hmm.
Like I'll have like random people just like literally talk to me out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Just like tell me about their life and all that. I'm like, yo, listen, like we just met for like 30 seconds. Like, why are you telling me that like you about to break up with your husband or you about to like get a divorce, or whatever? But then I tapped into that because being 6'11" and then also being able to have the approach or have like, I guess, the energy of people feeling safe. Sometimes they are intimidated, but most of them are not. They want to just come to me. And then like being able to actually speak to people. Because a lot of tall people, a lot of big and tall people, they don't really have the vernacular that I do. The reason why is because they're never able to like actually like, really work on their skills because they wanted to just hide behind the scenes. And that was me too. I've always wanted to hide behind the camera. I've always, did not necessarily wanted to be a person that was in front. If you would meet me, I would say maybe even 20, 25 years ago, were actually with me in high school. Like I was like a late bloomer. You know what I'm saying? Like all I did was play basketball, semi-pro, you know what I'm saying? And that's it. But now I just really realized like my superpower is my vernacular and a combination of a lot of things. I realized that the podcast and also the mini interviews and just the podcast in general and speaking is a megaphone to literally enhance your personal brand because people get to know about you, your personality, what kind of people that you also talk to as well. And it can be the fastest and most secure and efficient way to connect to people one on one at scale.
Definitely.
You
Love
know,
that. So this year, I know that are you planning on doing more events and doing those like mini interviews and
Yeah, yeah, I do event. Listen, I probably release about 30 interviews a day, 30 interviews a week on my platforms.
it's
Yeah,
incredible.
but events, I get hired for events. Either I get hired for events, or I'll just get like a media pass and go to like the events and go to conferences. So yeah, I mean with my academy as well, I have access to different events as well. So I'm definitely out there really really increasing and maximizing my social capital as much as possible all throughout the nation.
Love that. Love that. That's definitely something I want to do this year is more
Of
events. Are
course.
you doing your own events too?
So with my academy, I have something that's called the Meetup. So every month I do like free events. Then also I teamed up with my mentor Brendan Boyd, which we have this 14 city tour around the United States throughout the year, which is called the Podcast to Cash Tour. So if people who want to be able to tell their story, be able to pitch their high ticket offer, then we're able to actually give them an opportunity to get on stages in front of 100 to about 200 vetted people that are already warm to be able to potentially buy or maybe to potentially invest into the services that they have. And I'm handling I'm also the host, but I'm also handling the panel section because before the beginning of every single event, we do a panel and I moderate that. So in Miami, we had one in January that was actually a content panel, but we're going to Atlanta on the 21st. I don't know when it's going to be released or not, but or when it's going to be released, but we're going to do a money panel. So each
Cool.
city will probably, depending on the people who do come in for the slots for the panel, will have like an overall theme of the.
That's awesome. And I know before we started recording, we were talking about podcasts and like some of the people that you represent in personal branding and that you're coaching. Can you talk more about the opportunity in podcasts?
What I've realized with podcasting is there is a great opportunity for people to really, really understand you as a personal brand and just you as a human. I believe one of the metrics, right? So one of the metrics as far as for people to buy, right? Know, like, trust, and buy, right? There's like 7 to 11 touch points, right? As far as for people to actually like click that button and also invest and buy your products. But when it comes to, I'll say this, and when it comes to YouTube, I say, especially long format, I believe people need to spend at least 4 to 7 hours with you to be able to get familiar with you. And podcast is literally like the biggest cheat code that you can literally just be able to actually nurture and to actually have that type of connection with your audience. Another thing I will also say, and you're doing this right now with me. We're building this rapport and we're also building this relationship at the same time in real time during this podcast.
Yes.
So me having this conversation with you, if you ask me, hey, listen, I have this event that's coming in, or I have this sales training that maybe you want to invest in, like I already know you as a person. We already have that rapport, so I'm gonna be able to buy a lot quicker than anything else. Also, podcasting is very, very important when you want to actually be able to increase your social capital and your exposure with people who are more elevated than you. So let's just say if I come to you, right? And I'm like, hey, I really want to learn about sales and everything else too. Can I just pick your brain real quick to get some, advice or maybe get some, knowledge? 9 times out of 10, you'll probably be like, no, here's the invoice number one, here's for my time. But if I tell you like, hey, Mel Key, right? Mel Key?
Kill.
Kill. There we go. So I'm Mel Kill. Hey, listen, I have this podcast called Convos with Bishop where I interview the best humans. I like to take about you maybe 30 minutes of your time to be able to have a conversation with you and get to know you more. Which one would you rather have? You want to have the podcast, right? You're like, yo, listen, Dad, that's so. If you actually able to really position yourself with your podcast, it is a cheat code, a mega cheat code to talk to people who are on the same level as you as far as your peers and also higher than you to actually, have that perceived value so you can actually give them.
Definitely. Yeah. And what I've found just by getting the reps in, basically, because I think I've done about 50 podcasts now since Creator Hub. Like I was mentioning to you before, Creator Hub.
Okay, they're gonna run it. There you go. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Because after Creator Hub, I was like, oh my gosh, I should have started this so long ago. Now I have to get started and go hard on it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to record 5 to 8 podcasts every week. I'm going to post 3 videos a day on Instagram and I'm going to be consistent and, hold myself accountable and treat it like a job. And then I found how rewarding and fun it has been to get to know people, to make them look good and to give them a place where they can highlight what they're excited about, what they're working on, what they want to promote, and who they are. Because I love
Mhm.
talking to people about the biggest struggles that they've overcome to really inspire people. Because, you know how they say it takes 20 years to look like an overnight success, right? Like
Mm.
people might look at you and be like, "Oh, he was born that way. He's so natural for him. All he has to do is get on the
Nah,
mic, get in front of the
nope,
camera." But
not
I'm
even
sure it's
close.
but I'm sure it's
Yeah.
taken years of practice, right? To get comfortable in your own body and personality and to develop what your brand and your voice was gonna be like, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like I told you, I was a late bloomer. I was a person that has always physically stuck out like a sore thumb in front of everybody. Like I've always been a taller person. So because I was also the taller person, I didn't want to get more attention than I was already getting. Like I just want to just be in a corner and just have everybody just leave me alone. But
Yeah.
as I just started to get out there more, and I will say this: the one person that did change my life was a woman. It was somebody who I was dating back in the day. Say, listen, you have a great personality, and also you can combine that with your stature. Why don't you just dive into that more? So that's when I got into podcasting. And when I got into podcasting, I was like, yo, I did one episode, and this was 2017. Um, and when I did that and I released it, everybody was like, yo, you're such a great person, such a great speaker, everything else too. I'm thinking I'm trash, first of all. I'm like, okay, this is terrible. But everybody's like, yo, this is incredible. So I'm like, okay, maybe I have something. You know that old saying, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, you know what I'm saying? But it's so cliche, but it's so true as well. The fruits is literally at the end of the labor, but
Mhm.
the labor has to come with you being uncomfortable. There's no comfort when it comes to labor at all. So, you can't have it both ways. I've always said this, you can't be proud and you can't be broke at the same time.
Mm.
You know, you got to pick your struggle at the end of the day. Either you're going to just not be someone who you're not known,
Mhm.
or you are going to put yourself out there and just deal with the other issues that come with it while you're progressing to be great.
Yes.
But the one thing that you cannot do is not do anything.
Totally. I completely agree. And I had to get over the fear of being seen and judged. And there's always going to be, cyberbullies or people on the internet, because you bring out people's insecurities when people see you being confident and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable to an extent, you know, it can really trigger insecurities in other people where they're like, "Why does she think she's so good? Who does she think she is? Like an influencer,
Mhm.
whatever." And like, I'm sure you've dealt with it. Everyone I talk to on my podcast has dealt with something like that, and sometimes it's even from your family or
Oh,
your
yeah.
close friends,
Yeah.
and you lose friends.
Yeah, even from your best friends as well. It's just life. It's just life. It's just life. It is what it is. When you are living in a moment where everybody wants that, you're definitely going to get some naysayers as well. But what I always said, if you don't have anybody that's actually like giving you a critique and literally giving you backlash, you're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
Like, that's just my mentality of it. If I feel like I don't have my haters that's like literally talking, whatever, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think it's great because all press is good press, right? If people are talking
Right.
shit, at least they're talking about you. You're
Yeah.
doing something good enough that people are going to take a time out of their day to post a mean comment.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and there's no such thing as cancels. There's no such thing as being canceled. Like, you have to understand something. Like, our president right now literally said that I will grab you by the P word, and he still became the second. He became the president of the United States a second time. So listen, man, if he can get away with some BS like that, it is what it is.
Totally. We live in a strange world, but,
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. The listen, the woman of the year was a man. Oh, what are you gonna do? Like, you know what I'm
hey.
saying? It is what it is. Like, you can't do anything about it. But the one thing that you cannot do, that you should not do, I should say, is not do anything about it. If that
Mhm.
makes sense. You always have to progress. You always have to move forward.
Definitely. I completely agree. And like a lot of people I know just from going to Creator Hub, just from getting involved in this world more and seeing the statistics of how this industry, like content, podcasts, online branding, and all of that is only set to grow in the billions exponentially over the next few
Mhm,
years. And
mhm.
only it's like 1% of consumers are creating content or something like that. Cause a lot of
Yeah.
people start and then they'll stop and they'll drop off, right? Because it takes a lot of effort, and sometimes you don't feel like you're in a good mood to record, but you have to do it anyway.
Yeah, it's funny, like, so what I said in the beginning is I help entrepreneurs who are great at what they do but not necessarily known yet to go from overlooked to overlooked. One of the secrets that I actually really bring up when it comes to people just not putting out content, not doing what they need to do, is a concept that's actually called social purgatory. So there's a concept that actually came up. Maybe somebody else did, but I mean, I guess I can coin it. It is what it is. It's like you're in social purgatory where you feel like you shouldn't post because you're afraid of like people just judging you, and it's not perfect. And then what happens is when you're not perfect or you feel like you're not perfect, then you're not present.
Yeah.
And what I teach is I try to get people to people's brains is that you have to be present over trying to be perfect. And that is one of the biggest mindset shifts that people can actually have when it comes to creating content, when it comes to creating your brand, your personal brand, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, you think that nobody cares. You think that everybody cares, but nobody cares. Like, nobody gives a damn about anything, if that makes sense. So don't think of that like, oh man, nobody cares. No, like for me, I always think about like having the mentality of half glass full versus half glass empty. Great. Nobody cares. You know what? Then why should I care about what I'm posting or not?
Mhm. I
Just put it
agree.
out there anyway, you know? And what is going to be the alternative of you actually not posting content for your brand while most people are doing it? Maybe like 99% of it are not consistent,
Mhm.
but those people are actually doing it, if that makes sense. So if they're doing it and they're not consistent, and then if you're doing it and you are consistent, then guess what? What happens? You are actually above 99% of the people. And then you're literally in the top 1% and you're ahead of everybody. What people don't understand when it comes to podcasting as well, and this is the crazy stat I heard is that 95% of podcasters quit after their first 5 episodes.
Really? Wow, did not know that.
Just about, yeah, they quit because of not being consistent, because of cash flow, which is a whole other thing as well too. Because like a lot of these podcasters are broke as well. They don't necessarily know how to actually monetize and make money off their brand. So um, yeah, there's just like when you think that there's not any opportunity to be able to be successful within the content game and within the personal brand game, is all a mindset. And once you actually break that social purgatory, then you're going to be heading towards that greatness.
Exactly, exactly. And one of the things about Creator Hub that was so made it such a life-changing experience for me was the people who I saw on stage and who I met who were making millions of dollars and had millions of followers were no different from me. They had just been consistent for longer, for years, right? So I was just like, oh my gosh, I should have started this years ago. But because I couldn't go back in time, I was like, I'm just going to do this now and go hard on it. And it's, so many opportunities have come to me as a result. It's been super rewarding. And it also just breaks up my day when I get to talk to like people like you or people like Kate Violet who are super inspiring to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the juice I needed to get through the rest of my day.
So listen, so I'm gonna stop you right there. You see how where I just talked about social purgatory and like literally being present over being perfect. You literally bash your head in. It's like, oh my God, I wish I would have started earlier. Why I didn't do this? But then now it's like you started.
Hmm.
Now you're present.
Hmm.
Now you're doing your thing. So now we have to, half glass full versus half glass empty. Now we have to be able to use that, right? As far as you started and use it as momentum to keep on being more consistent.
Exactly. Exactly. And it gets easier over time. And what I tell people who ask me for advice, I'm like, just the first few things you put out or your first few reps might not be the best, but it gets better over time. And when you're putting out so many videos a day or a week, each video or a mistake that you might have made or something, a bad hair day isn't really going to be memorable or make a huge difference. It's more about the consistency and how it looks on the grid and your overall feel of the brand, right? It's not
Mhm.
if something happens in one video, well, that's gonna be pushed down in a day or a week.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, definitely. No, 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 definitely. Well said. We got to just keep on pushing.
So do you for the people that you're coaching for personal brands, do you generally recommend all of them start a podcast?
Okay, so this is what I will say. Yes and no. Yes, you should definitely start a podcast, but if you're not going to be consistent, then don't do it
Yeah.
because you are literally competing with like a whole bunch of other people who are consistent, who has actually been doing this for years. I think there's another statistic that says it takes almost a decade for podcasts to get known, on some type of level. I think Charlamagne the God actually said that. And what I will say is this: I think that doing media is very, very important over starting a podcast. Doing content is way, way more important. Just being consistent with that first is way, way more important than actually starting a podcast. Now, if you want to start a podcast, this is what I will say. Just literally do the things that is like the least, like the lightest lift. Like I am a little bit against virtual podcasts, to be very honest with you, because I think it's not necessarily as intimate or as connective as being one on one. But honestly, doing this now, I actually may start like a virtual version of my podcast. So you may have started something, my friend. But so if that's the case, do that. Just try to just literally the biggest thing when it comes to making content or podcasts is that the great Chase Jarvis, rockstar photographer, shout out to him. He is he's based in Seattle. I think he's still based in Seattle, or maybe he moved to Texas. I'm not too sure. He said the greatest piece of content to make a content, like the greatest device that you can actually make a piece of content is in your pocket, which is your phone right here. People try to get perfect. They're just really too worried about being, with like perfection. Like, oh, I gotta have the right camera, I gotta have the right lights, the right studio, blah, blah, blah. No, you can literally just start with this. Now, with this, what you could do is I say that everybody should at least start a mini interview style of podcast. That is the lightest, lightest, lightest lift besides virtual that you can do to get started with your podcast. And then after that, once you build that consistency, then you can definitely get into more main podcasts. But there is a huge opportunity for people to do street interviews and also make a lot of money with that as well.
Mm.
Like I charge,
Interest
I charge $1,000 for my mini interviews.
Okay,
Like,
wow.
yeah.
Something I'm thinking about then. That's so interesting. Yeah.
No, there's different ways. I mean, that's another thing too. To actually, if it's okay for you to talk about it real quick, I think we're in this day and age where we just think that everything is free.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, if you have a different alternative as far as like maybe building relationships, maybe you try to get money on the back end, that's fine. But I think it's highway robbery for a person that I want to get on their podcast, get content, edify myself, pitch my offer, and not pay a dime.
Mhm.
That is crazy. That does not make any sense to me. So when I tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, like, to be on my Convos of Bishop podcast, it costs. It's an investment. Now, there's a different way that I say it as far as like, on a try to like let them know how it is. But a lot of people get so appalled that and obviously I don't charge for everything. There's times where like, like clearly like, like you're building value with me. So if you want to be on my podcast, I got you. You ain't got paid for nothing. But because I understand, like the value that you have or just the value that people have that I won't necessarily charge, I'll actually just collab. It's highway robbery.
Mhm.
If you just go on some of these podcasts and not necessarily invest in yourself where you're getting literally all the value, all the content, and all the raw footage so you can actually repurpose it for yourself.
Mhm.
Crazy work.
No, I agree. I mean, that's something that I've been thinking about more because I got a cold DM from some influencer with like 1 million followers and was like, "Oh, we would like you to be on my podcast. Fill out this form." And the form I think said it was like $12,000. I'm like, I'm not ready to pay that. He's a big guy. Maybe it was 12 million followers on Instagram. He's a well-known person, but
Is he in Vegas?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I'll
Can
tell
you,
you
can you, can you bleep this out or no?
after. Yeah. It was
Was this Shawn Michael Kelly?
yeah.
Yeah. See,
I
I
don't
have a
know
story
much
with him
about him.
too.
I had
I have
heard
a
of him.
story with you too. No, but here's the thing though. Wow, he charges 12K now. That's crazy. Before it was actually 5. But here's my thing: is like, no, like if I invite, listen, no, if I invite you to my podcast, right, and I tell you that there's a fee to that, like that does not no. If I didn't know you and you want to be on my podcast, then I'm like, hey, listen, like this is where it is. Is that okay? Great. That's kind of like the order of the dynamics. But if I invite you to my podcast, I have you fill out a form, and I'm like, hey, by the way, even though I invited you to this podcast and I want you to go on my podcast, it's 12K. Like that's BS. Sorry, BS. I mean that's crazy. Like you have to understand the levels of like the dynamic of like when to
Yeah,
charge and when not to charge. Which
totally.
I'm learning now too.
Yeah, no, I mean, since starting and like getting these cold DMs and these opportunities or invitations, I'm learning how other people are monetizing and all the creative ways that you can get, especially once you have a ton of leverage, like 12 million followers or whatever he has. But it's great because there is endless opportunity once you build your personal brand. And that's what I realized is okay, I don't know what the sky's the limit. I don't know exactly where I'm going to go ultimately by the end of this year, but I know I want to keep my options open and I need to put as much content out as possible and be consistent and also cross promote with my guests. And that was one of the most beneficial things is every time I have an influential guest on, I get more of their followers and engagement. And, it's just been such a great outlet for me. And like we were discussing earlier, only 7% of business podcasts are hosted by women. And when I found that out, and I know even fewer are Asian women, I was like, okay, now I really need to go hard on this. But I know that I was mentioning to you, it's been harder for me to get women on my podcast. It's been much easier to get men, but
Why
I'm
do you
not
think
sure.
it's that? Why do you think it's that?
Partly, I feel like because I'm assuming a lot of women are more careful about, or maybe self conscious. I don't really know about how they are appearing or present themselves or whatever, because I've invited a ton of women, but a lot of them just say no or maybe later or whatever. Whereas guys, I invite them and they just show up because probably they don't have to do hair and makeup. They don't really have to get dressed up or whatever. It's just easier for them.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look, I got a hat on. I ain't even get a haircut yet. You know what I'm saying? I just put on a hat. I ain't even shave my beard, which is fine. I don't care. Easy. I'm down. I'm authentic. It is what it is. So, like, come, either love me or leave me alone. That's literally how I am.
I love it. I love it. Well, I guess just to wrap things up, what are you most excited for about this year?
So what I'm excited for is definitely the podcast, the Cash Tour. I'm excited for my academy.
Mhm.
We have a goal of getting 1,000 members by the end of this year. We're at 53 right now, so we gotta get a little pace up, but we're definitely working on that. What I'm also excited for is my media company, just helping out personal brands and just trying to elevate people and really try to get them out their head to really be successful within the personal branding and also the content game. And this year would actually be the biggest year of my life of traveling. I will be traveling over 20 times this year. So that's incredible. So just, spreading the word, just spreading knowledge and just being that beacon of light for people, so they can definitely be encouraged to hold themselves accountable for their business and also their brands, putting out their content, get more exposure, increase their social capital, get out of their head with this whole social purgatory thing. If I do that, then I've done my job.
Amazing. Love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely, absolutely appreciate you.
And for everyone else, please tune into the next episode of the Breakthrough Blueprint.